August 2024, Mercury Retrograde in Virgo, Gemini Saturn square, full moon in Aquarius coming up on eclipse season. What does healing in real time look like? Well, we talk all about it in today's episode of the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast. Welcome. We're to the podcast where we explore ancient wisdom, the transformative power of intuition, self awareness, and spiritual sovereignty and empowerment. I'm your host, Christine, the Cosmic Doula, and in each episode, we embark on a journey of self discovery, growth, diving deep into intuitive wellness. In our solo episodes, I'll share about my personal experiences and insights of intuitive living, offering you practical tips and heartfelt stories from my own journey. And in our interview episode, which we have today, I'll connect with inspiring individuals who have embraced their intuition and transformed their lives, inviting them to share wisdom and experiences with us on a journey as they become and feel well. So whether in your beginning of your journey or seeking to deepen your connection with your intuitive self, this podcast is for you, and your cosmic doula is here to support you every step of the way. Join me as we explore profound possibilities in the intuitive life, guided by our intuition and empowered by self-awareness. I am so hyped for today's episode, and it's part 2 of Healing in Real Time with Sesheta, with Sesheta Weaves. Me and my sister talk all about reflecting on how we've journeyed and healed in real time through the cosmic energies of August 2024. And we dibble dabble into some of the energies of September 2024, highlighting the Virgo New Moon and at the top of the month and really what it's asking us to do. So I'm so excited to get into this episode. So let's just do it. Hello, everybody. So I have my sister Sesheta with me today. I'm so excited to have you here. If you don't mind, for those that are maybe new, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit who you are?
All right, that sounds good. I'm Sesheta Weaves. Actually, I don't think I've ever called myself Sesheta Weaves. Today is the day.
It's a new
Actually,
day.
Sesheta Weaves Rainbows is my ad on IG. So
Okay.
that is technically my full name, Sesheta Weaves Rainbows. And that is basically the summarization of everything. I am a Reiki master, so I weave energy, subtle energy healing. I am a sound healer, so I weave musical notes. I am a bead weaver, so I weave color. And yeah, and I'm drawn to anything color and bling and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Venusian energy abound.
Yeah.
And that's me, tarot reader, channeler, all
Yeah.
those things. Adding more things as we go. We're always multi-hyphenate.
You know it, fellow MG here. If you don't mind, if you want to share, you're a cosmic big nine, but if you want to share anything, we have a lot of cosmic seekers on. So if you feel
Absolutely.
comfortable and you want to share anything, feel free.
Sure. Well, of course, my big three. I'm a Libra sun, Leo rising, Taurus moon. I am a manifesting generator, pure manifesting generator. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's good for now. Just
Sounds good.
getting started.
Yes, just getting started. So, we're going to have a lot of airy conversations, a lot of MG conversations. So, you might see us bouncing here and there with all of the ideas. And that's what we're vibing on today. So, I thought it would be a good time. Shishetta and I are very close. We're really good friends, and we love to geek out on everything cosmic astrology and so I thought it would be a good time. We caught up personally, which y'all don't need to know that tea, okay?
Right.
We spilled the tea in our personal lives, but we had this really nurturing, beautiful spark of alchemy, spark of vitalization, spark of everything beautiful and joyous the last time we got together for What was
Healing
it?
in real time.
The new moon. Yeah, the new moon
Yes,
in Leo. I think
yes.
it was where we had some really beautiful heart-opening conversations and we talked about the Leo new moon a little bit. So we haven't gotten a chance to catch up on kind of like the astrology things, and we kind of called it healing in real time in the last video, and so we're continuing that healing in the real time conversation where we're just kind of reflecting back on the astrologies and the cosmic weathers and reflecting on how we've healed or how we navigated the
Ooh,
weathers in real
that's
time, and
true.
then maybe dibble dabble into what September might bring because we know we're heading into eclipse season and there's this new energy popping up with all of these major aspects going on. I think we have 5 planets shifting signs, and so it's a lot of movement next year. Next year it feels like a whole year, but
I know,
um,
exactly.
next month. So, yeah, that's kind of what our intention for today is just kind of reflect and vibe and talk about some of the cosmic things that have been going on in our lives. So, it'll give you all a chance to experiment and to see it's like, oh, okay, that did happen last moon or this deemed let me look at what's going on personally in my life with maybe the Mercury retrograde. And so yeah, how about we start off there?
Ooh,
How was August for you? I know August was full of lots of things, lots of different
busy.
transits, but I'm curious to know how August was for you.
I feel like because we've talked about, this Leo moons, and
Mhm.
how whenever it's Leo season, I'm a Leo rising, so it's my rising return, if that's even a thing. I don't know if I've heard that said before, but we're
Mhm.
back in my rising season. The sun is
Yeah.
in my part of the horizon, and so I really focused this time on going within, and it like totally worked with the Mercury retrograde because things were crazy. And I think I was okay when Mercury was in Virgo, but when it hit Leo, I feel like that moment where it shifted from Virgo into Leo was like when things started to reveal more of themselves.
Mhm.
But either way, this idea that the sun is like rebirthing itself for me in my chart, right? Coming from underneath the underworld into the light, the new horizon, the new dawn. So for me, I look at it as, thanks to Christine and our conversations, I really value the time of like looking at it as the sun being in my 12th house, because it literally is in my 12th house. So it's this opportunity to rebirth myself. So it really was a new year. You said it's like I feel next year, because it is technically next year for me and coming up for you. So like I just feel that so deeply, and there's no coincidences that you said that. So again, this opportunity to just really reevaluate like what has been happening in my life, who has been in my life. We've talked
Mhm.
on that, as well as who I am and who I want to be in this
Yeah,
next iteration.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. And so with Mercury retrograde, you say that you felt it strongly because it started in Virgo and then
Like
Virgo
technically
for
my
you
first house, right?
in
Like
your
second, first, second house. Yeah.
in your second
Yeah.
and first house, and
Yeah.
then it went back into your 12th house. And again, just like this rebirth of, who I am, like going in and coming out, going in and coming out, and who do you want to be after that?
And
That's
also what I tell myself I
mhm,
am, like what a
mm,
story that I tell
mhm,
myself, like about who I am. And is that
mhm.
even true? And like how much of that have I been living like up against, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's literally the story you tell yourself because Mercury is data. It's getting information literally from both sides of the world, from the underworld into the natural world, into the living world, right? And I think of that as the 12th through the first, like, Mercury bringing literally those messages from, and I'm not too far from you, so I'm going through the same thing, the 12th and the first house, where Mercury's bringing things from the underworld and unveiling things, and then bringing it. It's like, okay, what are you going to do with this information? How are you going to, act? And once you rebirth, so.
Now that you
I
know.
definitely feel that. I definitely feel that. For me, I would say Mercury retrograde definitely impacts me a lot because I am Mercury ruled, and not only am I Mercury ruled, this Mercury retrograde started in Virgo,
Mhm.
where I have so many placements in
Right.
Virgo, and so this was very personal for me. This Mercury retrograde, and so invitation to see if I'm curious if there are any other, Gemini's risings or
Mhm.
Virgo risings of if you noticed if Mercury is retrograding if Mercury retrograding, how does that affect you? Do you feel more impacted or is it like a personal sting? Like, let me know. I'm curious. I know it
Yeah.
definitely came up for me and it really I feel like with it starting in Virgo, it was really an internal thing. Yes, it's like, okay, hitting my rising sign, like who am I being? Who am I becoming or rising, to? And
Yeah.
then going back into Leo, it's like it really gave me information on yeah, the underworld and things that were unseen. And the 12th house is like hidden enemies and behind the curtain, also very spiritual. So I felt
Yeah.
like I was getting a lot of downloads um from spirit, from different, ancestors, the cosmos, whatever that was giving me information literally on how I could show up in this next phase of my life as the sun is, traveling through Virgo in my first house. And so it was a very interesting time, and I collected a lot of data, a lot of intel. I also wrote a lot. I pulled cards a lot more than ever. Just again, just connecting to that oneness, that ethers, that cosmos, and I really did strongly feel connected to um, the cosmos as a whole and the oneness of the collective. Like that collective was really like I was really extremely sensitive to the collective pulls of what was going on at the time, and so. Yeah, it was very interesting Mercury retrograde season, and we're kind of in the post of it now. And I think it
Yeah.
goes back direct, and we'll go out of the shadows, I believe, September 11th, which is another auspicious day in the stars with all of the transits that are transiting on September 11th. And just that being such a sensitive day, I know in the United States of America, September 11th can be special. And um, it will be in a first quarter moon phase. The sun will be in Virgo and the moon will be in Sagittarius. And so it's a chance for us, on that day to kind of like take action on something that might have been initiated, not only during this Virgo new moon that's coming up, but also the Sagittarius new moon cycle that started. I'm not sure when it started, but way back then. So just some things to think about and just to reflect on. Invitation to do some Mercury retrograde research if you wanted to do the research on this particular Mercury retrograde. Some dates that you could look at is July 16th. That is when Mercury entered its pre-shadow phase in Leo, and really talked about like what's coming to the surface. So you can look at July 16th and saw like what came to the surface. Look at your journals, your text messages, your, phone things, because
I
this is
love
what
that.
Virgo and Mercury love to do, like dates, like go back in the records and look.
Yes.
August 5th is when Mercury actually went retrograde at 4 degrees in Virgo. So again, a chance to look back at that time. And August 28th is when it went direct. And then again, September 11th is when it's going to go out the shadow. So, invitation to look back at all of those dates and kind of see what was coming up for you during the Mercury retrograde cycle.
So
And I
many
think I
things.
wrote, yeah, I think I wrote um, for my reflection so far, before it
Mhm.
comes out of the shadow.
Right.
Um, who am I in spiritual communities is what's coming to the surface. So when I was looking back at those dates, it was things that were coming up in how I was showing up in spiritual communities. And that was the theme that started on July 16th and just kind of escalated more as we came on. And the realization of things hidden beneath the surface, hidden enemies who I perceive to be the enemies, and enemies. Am I being an enemy to myself by
Woo.
hermiting? By,
Yes.
going into my inner cave. And so those were some of when I was looking back, some of the things that came up to me. And that's something that, we have to be mindful of because the 12th house is, also, going away. And that's kind of like the low vibrations of that too, is just like going away or escaping and
Hmm.
leaning into some of the, vices or some of the or seeing yourself as a martyr. I've done all of these things. And so,
Yes.
that we
How we
do
keep
talk about the
ourselves
12th house a lot,
imprisoned.
but
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. And I feel like speaking of spiritual communities, I felt like I didn't fully withdraw, but I definitely was, less on social media, less on, the other kinds of apps and things like that, because it's the solar season here in, the upper East Coast. So I was out enjoying the sun, like literally trying to get the sun. So it was a wild dichotomy of being the hermit, but yet I'm out in the world. Like I was out doing more things because there was more to be done. So that was interesting. But I feel like real life activity and real life interaction with other people, being social in settings where you wouldn't necessarily normally be, is also important because we have this light to share, and while it's really important to nurture it and take care of it and make sure that it's in overflow at all times, it's still necessary to be around the people that need to experience it just by you being in that space. So
Absolutely.
so yeah, so I definitely focused on being out in the world, being out in that solar energy because that's, the rule of my chart. So I needed to get those
Mhm.
vibes real time.
Yeah, exactly. So how was the solar season for you, Leo?
It was
Solar
good.
season.
It was good. I mean, it was definitely a mix. I would say it
Mhm.
was up and down, but so many lessons for me. I still fully haven't digested all of it. But, the summarization of what I said before has really kind of been summing that up. Like just this real opportunity for me to examine what I've told myself about who I am spiritually. Because
Mhm.
that's the 12th house too. Like who
Mhm.
I am, what I want to be, how I want to grow from this point on, and
Mhm.
looking at what that means for me, like what that next step is, what the next level is, like what am
Mhm.
I quantum leaping
Yeah.
towards, and getting those intentions very clear and
Mhm.
succinct so that I know what I'm spelling into
Yeah.
existence. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially with
Absolutely.
Mercury in Virgo, right? Because that's also my Mercury's at home in Virgo, but it's at
Mm.
home, literally, Mercury is at home in
So
Virgo.
you're
So
having your Mercury return.
I am.
Mhm.
So by the time it hits September 11th, it's fully out of shadow. It will be more in conjunct with my actual natal Mercury.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I'm feeling a lot of returns. I'm hitting
Mhm.
my solar return really
Mhm.
soon. Venus is at home, and so by the time it hits to my Earth Day, which is in October, it's going to be my Venus return.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm feeling the Venus vibes, like I've said at the top, because it's at home in Libra. So I'm just
Mhm.
feeling the vibes of all these planets at
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
feeling comfortable, like
Yeah. How
getting
does that feel for
settled.
you?
Um, I think it's just, again, it's like this next level of The foundation, like the
Mm.
foundation feels
Building the foundation. I love
firm,
that.
so like now it's like, what's this next level? What's the first floor gonna look like?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that.
So that's kind of where I'm sitting. I have no idea what it's gonna look like yet. I'm not speaking it yet because I need
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
clear. But that's where I envision it moving. It's like now we have gotten more solid on, solid footing, 10 toes
Hmm.
down, right?
Hmm.
And now it's about, okay, who are we gonna build and solidify ourselves in being next?
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I love that so much. So like the return season around your, birthday, you're more than likely going to have a lot of planetary returns, right? So not only, again, just transitioning from that 12th house to the first house, going from the cosmos and being reborn into this earthly plane, like that's where the foundation starts. And then as you're having some of these returns, you're seeing, the first layer get built, based on the information that you might have downloaded from, that 12th house phase. It's like building that foundation. And it's like, okay, we got the foundation, but like how do I want to like literally decorate the first floor, especially for
Yeah.
you with all of your Venus, placements. It's like, what materials do I want to, call in? And
It makes me
um
so excited. It's
yeah,
like the company
it's
in me
so
is like,
beautiful.
ah,
Yeah,
the
it's so
aesthetics,
beautiful. Yeah,
right?
aesthetics. Like, how do I literally want to decorate it? Like,
Yeah.
how do we want to decorate our lives? I mean, Venus is in Libra right now. So, we talk about Venus is at home and she's just like, so I think in this season, while Venus is in Libra, is really calling us like, really asking us like what beauty do we want to receive in our lives right now, in a particular house where Venus is for you. And so Venus for me is in my second house. So
Mm.
really asking me to like, okay, what is this floor? If we even just divide the houses into floors, so what does this
Right.
second floor for me look like? How do I want to decorate it? What do I want to call in? What people do I want to invite in this home to help me with my self-worth, to help me with my finances, to help me with my resources and those that things that I have around me, help me with design, help me with my aesthetics and my appearance. Like what things and can I call in into the second floor space? So what about you? How are you feeling about
Ooh.
Venus and Libra?
So Venus technically is I'm sorry, Libra is technically my third house. So
Mhm.
again, just opportunity to revise and edit and look at some of actually what I'm doing is going back. You know how we have the story we tell ourselves, right? And I was talking about this yesterday, and it's like there's a lot of things we edit out, right? Because, that's a lot of Libra energy, right? It's like Libra is known sometimes to be a liar, right? And I want to look at that real quick because it's like we don't intentionally lie. Sometimes we just want to make other people feel good. And so
Mhm.
we will deny who we are or deny how we feel in
Mhm.
order to make the other person feel good. And
Mhm.
so that's a disservice to us, right? We're doing a disservice to ourselves. We're abandoning ourselves in order to people please, literally, right? So looking at that energy and then being like, okay, well, this is the opportunity for me to look at what I have edited and put thrown on the cutting room floor and recognize that that's also me and what got edited out that I might actually need to be in the story of who I am
Mhm.
and looking at all those things, looking at all the aspects of self so that I can come forward in a more authentic way because
Mhm.
if you're involved in people pleasing, which I know I have been at some form in some way in my life, maybe not as much now, but definitely when I was younger. So it's like, what have I told myself and continue to live up to, like I said before, that isn't really who I am anymore,
Yeah.
or never really was who I was, but I kept it as like, oh, this is me believing my own story. This
Mhm.
is what I told myself, and I was telling others, right? In order to adapt, in order to fit in order to be
Mhm.
lovable, be liked,
Mhm.
all of the
Mhm.
things. And,
You're a
one of the
Libra.
things about, yeah, yeah, absolutely, being so concerned about, the
Mhm.
appearance, how it looks, how I look, like all of that. And, now that I have this more maturity, right?
Mhm.
Maturity says that I don't need to change who I am. I just get to
Mhm.
be. And those who fall away because of that, fall away because of that. And,
Mhm.
then I know who stays and who's really here are people that I really want to have in my cipher. And so I can't, the fear is not greater than the deed that needs to
Ooh,
be done. So,
ooh-wee.
yeah,
That's
girl.
that's a mantra. The fear is not greater than the deed that needs to be done.
Yeah.
I love that. And just even hearing you speak, all of this is third house energy, third floor energy. It's like who's in your community, who's around you, who are you people pleasing for? Like those siblings, those, people in your neighborhood, those people that are, like right next door to you. And it's like, how do you want to present yourself? Like, because to me, it's like very much about appearance. It's like
Yeah.
knocking that down, knocking the fear, down so that you are able to show up authentically in these relationships, in these partnerships, which is what Libra wants to do, right? And I think
Exactly.
it's so hard, like, or I see it as a challenge sometimes for, like, just as you explained, because of that people pleasing nature, like, we want to please everybody around us, but we're not doing anybody a disservice if we're not truly authentically ourselves. And I think that's the real beauty. It's like we need to reframe what beauty is. Beauty is going to
Yes.
be absolutely
Yes.
different for each and every
Self-worth
person.
is, what self-worth is. Because yes, right? It's like when we have a clear picture of what our self-worth is and what loving ourselves looks like, then it doesn't really matter what anybody else says. It's like then you can appreciate what other people use to value
Exactly.
themselves, but you don't have to be like, oh, let me switch how I value myself because they value themselves like that. Like
Mhm.
you can compare, contrast, but it shouldn't shift who you are
Yeah,
authentic, like at the core, right? At the core.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my
Well, we
goodness.
talked about all these personal planets right now. I'm wondering what else happened
Well,
in
Pluto's going to be heading into Capricorn again, back
what?
into
Oh yeah,
Pluto.
Pluto is going to be entering yep, very 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 soon. We had the full moon in Aquarius, which I also in August, which I also think brought up a lot in our collective. I think around that time is when, Biden stepped down and Kamala stepped up, and so you could feel literally the collective shift
Yep.
change in the United States anyway. Um, Jupiter squared Saturn, which I think is like, again, a lot of information, like giving us a lot of information again of what the collective, like Jupiter in Gemini, with the Mars in Gemini, is like coming hard and fast with all this information, all this facts, all this misinformation, all this disinformation, while we're still in this Mercury retrograde period and is really challenging
We're
authorities. And
raw. While we're still raw, we haven't even recovered from some of the other information. And Mars is like, nope, we're going to keep it coming.
And it's going to still keep coming. It's going to come consistently for a while, and we just gotta kind of learn how to deal with these energies. With this square with Saturn, it's really saying like, how are it's challenging us and asking us how are your boundaries? Because this isn't about to change anytime soon. It's going to constantly keep coming and coming and coming and coming and evolving and getting more information or additional details on different things. But where are we taking authority in our own lives, Saturn, taking action, the square, on these challenges, because we are seeing these challenges with our authority figures, with our political leaders, so many things are being revealed, coming to the surface, with Saturn and Pisces, but really ask us, like, where are your boundaries right now? What are your boundaries around information right now? Like, is it too much? Are you getting too much? Who are you getting your sources from? Who are you getting your resources from? Like really asking us to take action on that, I feel like, with the Jupiter square Saturn that we had, which is a very, very powerful transit. I know I felt.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And in Gemini, it's just like with Mercury retrograde happening too, it's just yeah, yeah.
And it's big mutable energy with the squares. It's a mutable square. And
Yes.
so, it's knowing that change is going to be constant, knowing that what you hear, it's very mutable. It's a lot of he said, she says, like, what's the truth? There is no truth, like we only know, the truth and like all of this change too. So keeping that in mind too, with all of these powerful outer planets in
Yeah.
mutable signs and
I
really
love it.
figuring out what that means.
Yeah, sorry. I was just
Mhm.
thinking about Saturn again and just how, like you're saying, it's like the responsibility that comes with having knowledge and being privy to knowledge and, what do you do with that knowledge? Like, are you sharing it before you're clear?
Yeah.
Are you listening? Are you following before you know it's clear? And
Mhm.
ooh, so much of that was shown up for me, this time
Mhm.
around. It's like with Neptune at home in Pisces as well, was sitting on that throne being like, are you really seeing what's being shown? And Saturn's like, are you going to be responsible about it? And how do you be responsible? And how do you hold others responsible?
And how do you
So
be
yeah,
your own authority?
how do
Because
you
at
be?
the end of the day, we need to be our own authority. We're looking at all these other people to have the answers, and we need to be our own authority. We need to stand on our own business and take care of our own things before, and I feel like this season was a real big reminder of that.
Absolutely. Yes. And
Mhm.
if we're being in tune with who we are and listening to the messages and hearing them clearly. Whew.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
All of it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
You-
And I'm just looking at the human design gates that we were ushered
Yes, bring it.
into the season with. We started with the sun in August in gate 7, the role of self. Again, who are we? What are the authority that we are? It's also known as the wise shepherd. Again, we shepherd ourselves. We shepherd ourselves. We are wise. We have the integration. Once we integrate ourselves, we can
Mm,
then guide ourselves and whatever sheep.
once.
The earth was grounded in the listening gate. So it's just like really listen and observe kind of what's going on around us in our ethers. Then it
Yes.
moved into the gate 4 of formalization, which is the forgiveness, really asking us to kind of um, shining a light, or the main topic was around forgiveness for maybe some of the stuff that was illuminated, but grounding us in the earth gate of 59, which is all about principles, which is all about revolutionary leaders. So it's like we're rising up to be ourselves, but we need to be grounded in revolutionizing. But I think with the Mercury retrograde, it's all about strategy, 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 strategy. So how can we create the strategies, put the structures in place, the boundaries in place with the information that we're getting to be the revolutionary leader?
Yes. Before you move forward. Absolutely.
Hmm.
By
Hmm.
advising how you, informing how you move forward.
Yeah, exactly. Then we moved into the gate of perseverance. So these are all Leo gates before we hit Leo season. So you might have some of this energy will come
Yes.
in your chart. But the gate of perseverance, we left with, again, just like with that understanding ourselves, the role of self, formulating ideas and forgiving and, releasing and amending. We then persevere to where we need to go and recognizing our feelings, grounded in feelings. Like this was a very, gate 30 is a very emotional gate. So honoring what we're feeling, and using that as motivation to move us forward. And then we moved into the Virgo gates and we entered the gate 59, which is all about sexuality and intimacy and who are we letting in our close circles? Who are we being intimate with? To me, you can't have intimacy without vulnerability and reciprocity.
Shay.
So, who is giving you and who is showing you that reciprocity? Who is being vulnerable to you? And with the grounding in that gate of gate 55 of spirit.
Yes.
connecting to our spirit while being intimate with others, honoring that spirit within us, that light within us.
I have a question
Yeah.
because I think I sort of remember. Does gate 30 that you mentioned and gate 55 form a channel? Or is that wrong?
No,
Okay,
I
55.
don't. I have to pull up the
Okay.
chart. Gate 30. Let's see here. Gate 55, I know is
I'm
they're
just
in the
distracted.
same center, so they're both in
Okay.
the solar plexus center, but they can't form a channel.
Yeah.
But gate 55 forms, which I think was interesting because I wanted to talk to you about this because I know, or gate 59, excuse me. 59 is interesting because 59 is the gate of sexuality, and the we also had something in gate 6 which creates the channel of mating. And so this is, yeah, because I know you shared that 59 is your Mars gate.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, and this could be a
That was
side
funny.
conversation, but I'm wondering if your husband has the gate 6 channel somewhere, just knowing how
I'm just
many
having a
children you have, just like
moment.
the channel of mating. So this is cautionary tale for those that don't want to get pregnant. And if you have gate 59 active in your chart and your partner or somebody that you know has gate 6, be careful, especially when the sun is transiting during this time, because surprise mating or conception might happen. That's exactly what this gate wants to do. It wants to procreate children. So,
And I've added I've done my contribution.
yes, yes, you've done your many contributions to this lifetime
So
to activated that channel. So,
much.
yeah, I'm wondering if you have that channel and or if
I'm
it's
gonna have
some
to
side
check. I
bump.
don't think I'm almost positive I don't have that channel, but I
Mm.
would love to see if we do combine because that would be really interesting. That would make a lot of sense.
So I love 59 5 because it's my unconscious sun and earth. So my unconscious earth gate is 59 of sexuality. So I'm really grounded in intimate partnerships. Like that's really what grounds me. And my son is in the gate of abundant spirit. And so spirit, of course, guides my life and guides me. And so it's a very interesting energy. And these are the energies that we're going into this new world with the sleeping cross of the incarnation cross of the sleeping phoenix. 59 and 55 are going to be very active for the next, 400 years. So really pay attention to those energies because that's what's being called in. And again, just intimacy and spirit. And we see these highlighted in the themes of what we're going on right now. And then now we're again in Virgo season. We're moving into gate 40, which is all about being alone and providing and being grounded. Also, it's like this push and pull of needing to be alone, but also gate 37 talks all about friendship and being part of a collective. So it's like the main topic is yes, being alone and figuring out who you are and what you're doing. Very Virgo, S.
Yes,
But
Hermitish.
Pisces, is all about the collective, is all about oneness. So these are, opposing signs. And so it's asking us, yes, 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 but don't forget about the oneness. Don't forget about the collective, which I think is so interesting because, this is my access. This is my nodal access, the Virgo of always wanting to be alone. And this is my South Node. It's just constantly like needing to release that and then to head towards the friendship and head towards, the
The one.
oneness, the wholeness. And this
Yeah.
this leads us into September, which we are coming up on and with the new moon in Virgo. What are you feeling about this new moon in Virgo that's coming up?
Oh my goodness. It's just so much energy.
Yeah.
Just feeling like, having just having Mercury there, having I'm not there, it's still in Leo, but
Mhm.
Mercury, heading towards Virgo, having Venus at home. I just feel like is this opportunity to really step into healing of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I feel like what I was trying to get to when I was asking you about the channel was this idea about emotions. And that's something that came up for me in this whole time period, is about how much I still might not be acknowledging all of my emotions. And we talk about that being power, because that is spirit. Spirit is emotions, and that's how you tap into your intuition. So being cut off from emotions means you're not leaning into spirit. And so I just feel this opportunity before we move into the eclipse portal, where we're going to be asked to really dive deeper. And, starting with the lunar eclipse in Pisces,
Mhm.
it's like, how do we identify, strategize, and look at how we make ourselves the star of the show? Like, how do we make ourselves, whole again? How do we recover? How do we heal? How do we nurture ourselves, nourish ourselves? All the things that are totally Virgo energy, right? It's healer energy, and it's
Mhm.
earth energy. So it's using
Mhm.
the earth, using nature,
Practical.
using herbs, yes, using
Mhm.
routine and strategies to help
Mhm.
our lives function well, right? And that's how we can make ourselves better, like our individual selves better, so that when we go out into the collective, when we, look for our friends, we're attracting the right one.
Exactly that.
And
Exactly that.
our people find us, right? The light is on
Exactly
and
that.
vibrating, and those who are of like mind, of like energy, or similar, thought, will find us. But I think
Mhm.
it's so crucial to continue to lean in. It's been a long-term theme, I think, of self-care and self-value and self-worth, but it's
Mhm.
so crucial, especially for Black women, for us, because
Mhm.
we've had such a history,
Yeah.
intergenerational history, of putting
Mhm.
ourselves on the back burner.
Mm, mm, mm,
We
mm.
know that sacrificing ourselves that's intrinsically what we want to do.
You're right.
And so we
In
have,
our
the
DNA.
collective South Node is still in Libra, so that's why I'm so excited that Venus is home, because we've got so much heavy Libra energy pulling on us to be like, are you going to people please? Are you going to put yourself on the back burner? Are you going to abandon yourself again?
Mhm.
And with Venus here, it's like the big reminder of, like, we can value ourselves. We can take time for ourselves. We can focus on ourselves first and foremost.
Mhm.
And yes, that can still be good for everybody else. That actually is the best thing for
It is the
everybody
best
else.
thing for everybody else. Hmm.
Yes.
Oh,
So
that is powerful. Yes, I 100% agree with everything you said. For sure, this is ushering up us into that eclipse season, but still honoring, where the nodal axis is right now and what Virgo is or Venus is asking us to do right now with it touching the South Node, like really highlighting on yeah, those people pleasing aspects. And I thought it was really beautiful when you said, like, really setting it up for ourselves so that things that are in alignment with us just naturally attracts and aligns with us because that's what Venus is about. Venus don't do shit, really, doesn't do nothing. Everything comes to her. She just is a receiver, that Empress energy. Like, just come to me. I'm just gonna lay back in my pretty garments and have everything around me, all the things, I know what the things are. And then whoever is, whatever I need, I know I'm going to get, and I know I'm going to be comfortable with that. And so, for sure, and
absolutely.
this new moon in Virgo, I feel for me is definitely, definitely highlighting, for me, it's always goes down to wellness and not only wellness, but intuitive wellness. It's like what is coming up for your, and then which I think is very Virgo Pisces access-ish, being not only being well, but what does your intuition say? What does your spirit say? And not only what does being well mean to you, not only physically, but emotionally, socially, communally, financially, in your career. What does it mean to be well in your career? What does that look like? Really asking us to question all of that, not and to dismantle and to dissolve some of the structures, the Pisces structures that Saturn, the traditional Saturn roles that we have around these concepts of wellness, but
Mm,
dissolve those. And what does it
yes.
really mean for you to be well? And like you said, to strategize around that. What herbs can we bring in to support us? What practical routines can we do daily to
Yes.
create a ritual around? Because, Virgo is very much around routine, but for me, routine is ritual. And
Yes.
so, like using those routines to create a practice, a spiritual practice, a routine, a ritual, to help us be and feel well. And slight plug, if you're interested in intuitive wellness and what it means and the different dimensions of wellness, I really feel like there's 8 dimensions of wellness, and I talk all about it, 8 being the empowered one or the embodied one, really getting it into your body. I have a workshop on this on my website that first talks about what intuition is, where you can find it in your human design chart, where you can find it in your astrology chart, and then we go down and give practical ways of how you can experiment with each of these 8 dimensions of wellness. So feel free to check that out. But yeah, I'm really going to revisit that class for myself and really see and sit with, like what does wellness means for me, especially around this Virgo new moon, because um it's definitely a special one, especially for me as a Virgo moon.
It's always gonna
Um,
be right in the middle of all your your
all of my stuff, all of my stuff. It's like hitting Lilith, it's hitting my moon, it's hitting my rising sign, it's hitting so many things. And let's see, where is it in human design? In human design, it's interesting because this is like some of the key things that I have are, yeah, definitely bringing focus to all of the dimensions, but also bringing focus to change and karmic rewards. So based on what you have done, and again, Virgo is very like of service kind of sign. So constantly wanting to be of service, constantly wanting to help, constantly wanting to heal, which I recently found out that Virgo is also co-ruled by Chiron, which I thought was interesting, as well as Vesta, which makes complete sense
Yes,
as
I forgot
well.
that. Yes.
hmm And so just like again, should we talk about Vesta? Vesta is an asteroid goddess, which I think is really interesting. She was the firstborn of Saturn and the last to reborn of Saturn. So when Zeus was able to, fight to get his brothers, from the belly of Saturn, she was the last one to be reborn and the first one to, that Kronos or that Saturn, ate, but she speaks all about devotion, spiritual devotion, that sacred devotion. The Vestal virgins were the ones that guarded the sacred flame in, the Roman empires, and they were meant to be pure. And you think about Virgo, the sign of purity, and
Virgin,
just the
right?
virgin and cleanliness and all of these things. Like, what does that mean? Like, is it really disempowering? Like I've been like kind of like thinking about that sign, but they were really here to just maintain and just be truly this pure channel for spirit and guarding this sacred flame. And it talked about devotion, it's a 30-year cycle, that they had to
Well,
do
that
as
just
these
brings up
virgins.
the crone version of
Mhm.
Virgo, you know? It's like that hermit energy of like, oh, you've dedicated your life to practicing and learning all of these tools that you could now pass on to someone else, right? But I feel like that crone only gets to be the crone because they've been doing it on themselves, practicing it,
Oh,
living the life all along the way. Like you said, that devotion
yeah.
to it so that you can be like, oh, I know this works because I do it all the time, right? It's not just like, oh, I heard about this spell or I heard about this concoction. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So I feel like this is an invitation in your chart in during the Virgo new moon to check out where Vesta is in your chart and where is your sacred devotion. Like I have no fire in my chart, quote unquote, like with my major planets, but the only thing when I brought in my chart out that I have in a fire sign is Vesta. and Vesta is
Interesting.
in Leo in the 12th house. And so again, just like that sacred devotion to spirit, it's just like so strong in me. And that's where my fire is, that
Thanks for my chart
devotion.
because I don't remember where mine is. So keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, it's a spirit. And so also with this, it's like your rewards, because Saturn does want to reward you, and from those things that you have been doing in your life practically. But at the time of the new moon gate, the sun will be in gate um, 40, line 6, which talks all about, which is the gate of aloneness, which talks about providing for the collective. And in 6, it's a focus on leadership. And it's pulling focus on who we are as leaders. And are our leaders for the people, or are they for themselves and for their own egos? And I see this highlighted supercharged right now in all aspects, in all the areas, in all the leadership areas. And so it's a great reflection time to say, okay, we are all leaders in our own right. Are we for what? Why are we leaders? We're leading people. Are we for the people? We're not
Right,
leaders just to be a leader. And if
right.
we see people who are leaders just to be a leader for their own egos, we need to reevaluate that. And we
Absolutely.
reevaluate that, and the moon and the earth is going to be in gate 37, which is all about friendship. Again, asking us to ground in those people who we have close relationships with, those values that we have relationships with, those people that, are naturally attracted to us because we are on our Venus Empress throne. We're not out there searching and looking and desperately looking for a leader. We know who we are, and we know that those leaders will naturally come to us because we are in alignment. And
Yes.
so, line 6 also talks about wanting to see the face of God. It's living beyond the illusions of how we live here on earth. And this is grounded in karmic rewards for those who work to make the world a better place. Again, these leaders who work to make the world a better place, not just for their own legal
Yes, that are
egos.
actually doing something that is making a difference. Yes, and I love that it's just bringing up so much again about like when being in tune and how our intuition is so crucial. And again, the Empress is totally in tune with her intuition. She's in tune with nature and with
Yes.
everything around her, all the elements, and using that to inform how she feels about herself and about other things happening in the world and other people. And so if we're not, paying attention to those signs, paying attention to the vibes we're getting, just because someone's in a quote unquote authoritarian or leadership position does not necessarily mean that we ignore our own intuition about who those
Yes.
people are or what they're
Yeah.
saying or what's coming up or any of that. And that can be really hard to do,
So
especially when
hard.
you want to be able to be like, "Oh, but oh no." And it's like the reconciliation of everything you just said of like, we are our own leader. Being
Mm,
our own leader means acknowledging what we know to be true and knowing what we know and then moving forward with right action. Whew. Because that's also Libra, right? Social justice.
100%. The justice.
The justice. We can't forget that part. And she don't play
At
with
all,
people getting
at all,
people doing the wrong thing.
at all,
Okay?
at
At
all,
all.
at all, at all,
At
at
all.
all.
Woo.
So
And
yeah,
Lilith is there. We didn't talk about that part. So that's
yeah,
again, Lilith is the wild woman. Lilith is in Libra, So again, she's like, I'm a ride for this social justice, and I'm a ride for those who are really about the truth.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, who is really about the truth, 100%. So yeah, it's a lot of interesting energies with this new moon, but again, it's just having us think like really taking care of ourselves, our own vessels, and what it means. Again, all of this leadership things, yes, but it starts at the bare bones of just being well, of just being well. And I'm just looking at some of the transits of the outer planets. We have Jupiter in gate 45 of the Gather in line 3. Again, going back to leaders and if they're doing anything that is relevant or not, like gathering information. It's like, is the information that I'm getting, is it relevant? Trying it out, testing it out in that line 3 energy. Mercury is in gate 4, which is also talks about forgiveness, but it also talks about being a heart-based leader versus a leader not taking ownership of what they are. Mars in gate 15, which is like bringing extremes to the surface, and it's all about the wild heart in line 1. So investigating how does your heart beat? Like what is the heartbeat of what is the drumming of your heart? And where can you go in that direction? Even if it is extreme, that is okay. That's
Yes.
where Mars is asking you to take action. So in line 1, it's asking you to investigate those leaders in the extremes that they're taking. Are they doing things again for the people, or are they doing things for themselves? Like, I feel like Mars in this gate is really asking us to investigate and to do that
Yes.
work. Venus in 18, the gate of correction in line 2 is saying that, things might be corrupted beyond repair. But when things are corrupted beyond repair, what does that mean? It's time
Tower
to change.
movement.
It's power moment. It's time to build something new. It's
Knock
time
it
to burn
down.
it to the ground. It's time to burn it to the ground. It's time to burn it. Burn it,
Yes.
burn it, burn it, burn it to the ground. And the last thing I'll say in human design aspects for this new moon is that we have the channel of community activated in this particular new
Coincidence.
moon, which is the gate of 37, and the gate 40. 37 and 40 combines the emotional solar plexus um, channel. And this is a mystical channel, which I thought was very interesting because this brings this mystical channel, this mystical way that they call it in human design, is all about making the world a better place for our communities. Again, this is the gate of community, or the channel of community, excuse me, with a friendship and a loneness, which we are in right now. I think we are in line 3 today, but the new moon will be in line 6. And it's when we are in line 6 energy, it's kind of like the culmination of all that's come before, and it's the wisdom. Like you've transferred the knowledge, you got all the knowledge, but we're translating that into wisdom. So what is this wisdom that we've gained from all of this knowledge previously that asks us to be in community? And with this being the mystical way gate, it's highlighting spiritual community. It's
Mm,
highlighting organized religion. It's highlighting a clash between religion and spirituality. You
woo.
know what that means. It's highlighting a clash between the old and the new in all
Yes.
aspects. And
Yes.
so I think that's very interesting that,
Woo.
this is popping up right now. And so
And it's
again,
so Pluto in Capricorn at
mhm,
29 degrees too. It's like shaking up
100%,
all that stuff like underneath. It's like we got all this stuff up here, but Pluto's at the bottom moving, shaking that earth. Like what's gonna
100%.
keep standing once I'm done? Yes. Woo!
That Pluto and Capricorn, it's the last. This is the last time in our
This is the last
lifetime,
time. I just got chills. Woo!
in our lifetimes that
If,
this will ever
if
be
it's
here.
still standing
It,
after this time, it was meant to continue forward. Woo! Pluto's coming back one more again.
one more again, one more again, one more again. And we think about Capricorn leadership, right? We think about the modality. These are leaders highlighting leaders.
Yes, we could have a black female president.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
direct. Like, that's crazy. Just
Crazy.
about. I mean, it'll have been direct, but I don't, it's gonna take a while for the
Right.
shadow. That shadow appears is gonna be a minute.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
yes,
Yeah, yep. Direct on the 11th of October and then re-enters Aquarius on the 19th. So that's soon after um, election time. And I'm just thinking about where we started
yeah,
in 2008 with Pluto entering in Capricorn. And we started with hope with Obama, you know?
yeah,
And now we're
absolutely.
ending maybe with freedom with Kamala. We'll see. I don't know. But this is all about, leadership and like you said, starting over. Like all these themes are it's just like definitely Pluto energy. And it's just asking us to make sure that we're on the right path. Like,
Absolutely.
are you on the right path? As things are crumbling down and adjusting, maybe it's not the Democratic Party, maybe it's not the Republican. Like, all of these things are like, even just our political scene is just shifting, and we're seeing this because the Aquarians, this new age, is like knocking on the door. Hello, get
Asking
your
for
shit
something new and
together.
innovative and different and totally off the cuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, for sure,
Absolutely.
for
Oh my
sure,
gosh.
for
So
sure.
exciting. All this stuff.
Yeah,
And
I
this is
think that's a good.
pre-eclipse portal. Like we
Mhm.
didn't even touch on
We
it.
didn't. We'll
This
come back
just
for that. This is just,
absolutely
yeah, pre-eclipse portal. I think there's just so much medicine right now
so much
that
juice.
we need to just ground ourselves in a practical way, right?
Absolutely.
Of how you can be well and what routines that you can bring into your daily life that can help you stay and feel well so that you can just be, motherfucker, like
You know
be,
what I'm saying? But I just
be.
wanted to highlight that we're moving into, we're changing seasons, especially, most places are changing season. We're going
Yeah.
from fall, summer to fall, and then some folks are going from, fall or winter to spring. I don't remember, but regardless, there's a shift happening, right? We have
Keep
the
on it.
autumnal equinox happening, right? So regardless, it's a perfect time to do cleanses and
Speak on
purges
it.
and get your body ready for the new season because, we talk about illnesses and things going around, but that's because it's the detox from the season before. And so you can get a jump start on it by doing a detox on your own, using
Mm.
those herbs we're talking about, using sound healing, come to a sound bath, or
Yes,
do all kinds of things.
yes. In
All
Sesheta, you do sound baths, right?
I
Are you,
do.
did you pick it back up for each lunation now?
I haven't yet,
Okay.
but the next one is for the eclipse portal.
Okay.
We're starting hardcore with the Pisces, the full moon in Pisces. So on
When
September
is
16th, yes,
September
that's
16th?
when they're having the sound bath. The
Okay.
the actual full moon is exact on the 17th, but
Okay.
we're in the pre-eclipse energy in that really juicy woo energy.
Yes, yes. So this episode will be out prior to that. So make sure you all go in, and I'll make sure that I have it in the description
On my
um
website. You'll
to
find the
sign
link
up.
there on the front page to sign up. It's a wonderful way to be in community, to get the healing that you need. Again, total earth medicine. It's Venusian energy with the music and the tones, and you get an opportunity to relax in the comfort of your own home with all the things that you need, all the accoutrements to make you feel comfortable and feel like that empress just waiting to attract what you need.
Yes. And I literally can't think of anything more Piscean than a sound bath.
Oh,
And so I am definitely going to be looking forward to that. So thank you for sharing that. And before we leave, how about we leave people with a little bit? I pulled some cards earlier, so I thought it would be a good
oh,
time to share. And then
okay.
I'll share. And if you have some, or if you want to pull some
I'll
cards,
pull while you're
feel
talking.
free. Okay, so when I pulled and I was like, Spirit, what does the collective need to know about this time, about our chat? And I feel like we definitely went over all of it. The first card to pop up was death, which is, of course, what we talked about. All that we talked about is this, literally breaking down of old systems. I see this person right here, and this person is in the suit. I really see it as patriarchy, like it's literally deading patriarchy and all that comes with it, and all these old structures, and whether it be religious or political, we're bringing it down, we're deading it so that something new can be born. I see this little girl right here, which really speaks to the newness of what wants to be born, of what wants to come, and our kids, our future generations. While the maiden right now, or that's the maiden. But what's the person in the middle? I forgot what they call her. But whatever.
No, it's not the maiden. I thought
The
she was the
maiden,
one in the middle.
maiden crone. What's the baby? There's like three stages.
There are
Anyway,
three. No, the
So,
Virgin, I guess, is the first one, and then we'll just say the matron. How about we say the
okay, the
matron?
matron. The
Yeah,
matron's
we're
right
gonna find
here
out.
is where I feel like we are right now. We're really sad. We're really devastated about what's going on in the patriarchies. But the Rise Crone knows. She knows that this needs to happen. This needs to be dead. And we see this, I don't know if it's a church or what it is, this building, there's hope. But
Mhm.
before there's hope, before we can get to that destination, I'm sorry, but this shit needs to be dead, go to the ground.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. And with the Queen of Cups showing up, it's just really asking us to honor our emotions, master our emotions, not only master them, but nurture them. And that
Yeah.
speaks to all the Virgo energy that we talked about, like really understanding our emotions and then in practical ways, like, own that shit, like nurture that shit in the practical ways. Like, what practical ways can you nurture your emotions? Is what
Yes,
I feel
especially
like this
ooh,
Queen
with
of Cups.
Saturn at home in Pisces, that's like full on water energy, and that's giving me Queen of Cups energy.
Yes,
Yes, being
yes,
responsible with it.
yes, being responsible with it for sure. And then also knowing that, like leaning into spirit for sure, like going into the depths. Like yes, definitely on earth, but
Mhm.
invitation to go into the waters, to be illusional, to get creative as well, with the waters. And then the Three of Swords also popped up, which, really spoke to there's going to be a lot of heartache. There's going to be a lot of storms. There's going to be a lot of tornadoes. There's going to be a lot of earthly things that are going on, especially with Uranus in Taurus, just recently retrograded or will retrograde it will retrograde on Sunday during the time of the new moon, I
Yeah,
believe. And so,
it's retrograde in the chart, so yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's retrograde in the chart. So yeah, on Sunday is when Uranus goes retrograde. And so I think that this, speaks to that. And to me, I'm just really getting, our earth is crying right now. Mother Gaia is crying and we're crying and we're heart aching. But this is,
Yeah, we
part
matter.
of the process. This is part of the process. Um, and then the Six of Wands came up, but it was reverse. And then so I see, to me, we might not feel really victorious right now. We might not feel like there's hope or we can gain victory, but we can. We can. How do we do that? With the number six. With six is all about nurturing, all about care. And that's how we do it. We get that fire, we get that wand in our hands to take care of ourselves. And the last card to pop up was the on the bottom of the deck was the Three of Wands. So our journey is now. We look out, we see like the assignment and we see what's ahead. It's in now. We have the power in our hands. What are you going to do about it? You can
Woo!
create whatever you want. That trine energy. You can create
Yes,
whatever you want. You got it in your hand. What you going to do about it?
I love it. And the message I got, I just asked, what did we need to know? And I got the arts.
Mm.
It says birth, seeking, balance, intimacy, laughter, theater, dance, visions, dreams, empathy, listening. Everything we spoke about here. We literally talked about every single thing here. And I got on the bottom of the deck was out of balance. So when we're feeling out of balance,
Mhm.
lean into the arts.
Mhm.
And we got so many different versions of what the arts are that can
Exactly.
fulfill and refill our spirit so that we can keep going. Because like you said, through heartache, we still have to be able to keep going. How do we keep moving forward? Yeah, and that's by nurturing
Oh, I love that so much. That makes me think of Neptune in 29 degrees Pisces, Like Neptune, yes, it's a lot of spiritual shit, like to the core, resolving, but Neptune also is the art. It's like the higher octave. It's like Venus times 1,000, And
Absolutely.
so,
Yes.
really leaning into that, leaning into the art, but beware because it can take you all the way down into
A
where
little
you
too
can't come
deep.
back to the
Yes,
surface. So come back up from
exactly.
those, emotions and be the
Exactly.
Queen of Wands, or the
Yes.
Queen of Cups.
Yes.
Come back up to the surface, but allow yourself So I'm beautiful. I think that's beautiful that allow yourself to go there, to go into the ocean, to get creative, because we're going to need that. We're
Yes.
going to need the arts.
Yes. To
During these times is when art revolutions show
yes,
up.
to have the visions for the future, what it
You
can
have the
look like.
visions for the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is so good as always. Chills all over.
So good. So I'm gonna see if I can get this up by the new moon in Virgo so that you
Okay.
all have it.
Yeah.
And the podcast will now be on Spotify. So anywhere
Woo!
all podcasts are found. So hope all
Sounds
of
like
those
I need to
episodes will
tap into
drop on the
that.
first. So the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast is out there in these streets. So yeah. Yes. And what I love is that there's video versions of the podcast as well. So you'll be able to see us vibe. And if you tune into the video version, you'll see the cards that were pulled. And I am just so grateful for you.
Oh,
And
girl,
I'm
you know
so
I love
grateful for
you.
our friendship. I value you in our friendship. And everything that we do and we co-create together. And I cannot wait for there to be more coming down the pipeline because we definitely got some things brewing up. So thank y'all and I love y'all.
Thanks so much.
Wasn't that a powerful episode? Whew, we did not come to play. We did not come to play. Lots of, oh my gosh, powerful conversation, but also practical insights and tips. And I really hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast. I thank my guest, Sesheta with Sesheta Weaves, her information for her sound bath and her beautiful jewelry and all of her beautiful Venus creations can be found in the description of this episode. I just wanted to close off by saying thank you for joining me for this episode. I hope you found it inspiration and insight on your explorative intuitive wellness journey. Remember that your intuition is a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges and discovering your true path. I encourage you to experiment with embracing your intuition and cultivating self awareness every step of your journey. If you enjoyed this episode, I ask that you please subscribe now that we're on podcast on Spotify. Subscribe to this episode or to this podcast and share it with a friend. Leave a comment, maybe sharing where the new moon has landed or the new moon in Virgo is landing for you or something that you really found helpful in this episode as you're healing in real time or share it with some others who might also benefit. But until next time, journey in grace and compassion, trusting your intuition, living authentically, empowering yourself to create a life that allows you to feel and be well. Merci un peu, merci beaucoup. Thank you for listening. Until next time.